What is up, guys? Emmanuel Jones here, and we're here with a video, and we'll be doing our NFL power rankings for the 2022 because now the NFL draft has passed, and the NFL schedule has been released. So we're gonna get started with these power rankings. So before I get to the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below what you think. So we're gonna get things rolling. So we're going to be going from 32 to number 1. So my 32 team in the NFL is the Houston Texans. And here's why. Now, the Texans don't really have a quarterback. And plus, I believe they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league because you don't have a quarterback. Second, I don't really believe in your coaching staff. But I think the Texans do have some talent. I mean, I like their first round pick. I like the first round pick that they have. Having Derek Stingley. I mean, they do have a little talent, but not enough. So I really think that the Texans really need to prove this roster, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of the worst in the league. So yeah, I have the Texans as my number 32 team in the NFL and being one of the worst teams in the league and probably getting the top pick in the draft next year. My number 31 is the Atlanta Falcons. Now here's why. Now, the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, I mean they I believe they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league too because they don't have a quarterback because you traded Matt Ryan away and you added in Marcus Mariota and you drafted a quarterback. And you also drafted a quarterback in the third round, which it depends on who the quarterback's going to be, which I don't really know. But you know what? The Falcons did improve in the draft by getting Drake London in the first round. So I feel like the passing offense will be good with Drake London and Calvin Ridley if he stays, which I don't really think Calvin Ridley will be playing because they say he's expected to be suspended for a whole season. But the offensive line needs to improve. The defense, it's not really good. Their coaching staff, is decent but not great. So I feel like the Falcons are just going to be one of the worst teams in the league coming up this 2022 season. Number 30 is the Chicago Bears. Now, here's why. Now, the Bears have gotten a lot worse. Now, here's why. Now, I kind of feel like that the offensive line is not really good. Defense have totally gotten worse. You lost Akeem Hicks in free agency, and you cut Andy Goldman, and you traded Khalil Mack away. So I feel like your pass rush is not as good as it used to be. But Justin Fields, he's really not getting a lot of help. The offensive line the offensive line is really not getting any pass protection. Yeah, but we know he has a lot of upside, but I kind of feel like he's kind of overrated. But I'm not sure if he's overrated. But I don't really believe in their coaching staff too. I feel like the coaching was a bad hire. So yeah, and plus the offense got a lot worse because you lost Allen Robinson for agency. So I kind of feel like the Bears kind of have a bad offseason, but I don't think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. But I think they'll probably be somewhere as an average team. But I think maybe give them at least a couple more years to get them back in the playoffs, and because I don't think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs, and they're not bad enough for a top pick. So that's why I have the Bears at number 30. Number 29, I have the Seattle Seahawks, and here's why. Now, the Seahawks, I believe they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league because you traded Russell Wilson away, and you got rid of some veteran players. But I think they did a good job retaining some of their players in free agency. But I think they did get better defensively, adding Shelby Harris. Offense is still really strong. I mean, you traded for Noah Fant in the draft. I mean, a wide receiver duo is really good as long as they keep DK and Lockett. But the offensive line is still not great. I mean, secondary, I mean, it needs to get better. I mean, they can improve at the corner position and the linebacking position because you got rid of Bobby Wagner. But I believe the coaching could be a little bit overrated. So yeah. So and plus you got Drew Lock as the quarterback. So I don't really think Seattle's gonna be good enough to make the playoffs though. And they're not bad enough for a top pick anyway. But even if they get Baker Mayfield, I still don't think they'll be any better. So yeah. So that's why I have the Seahawks at number 29. Number 28, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now here's why. Now, I kind of feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars have definitely gotten a lot better this offseason. I mean, the coaching, I mean, I feel like bringing in Doug Peterson as a head coach was a huge upgrade. But I think he's going to make them a lot more competitive. But you know what? I really think that the offense should get better. I like the weapon. I like what they did by adding Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk, which it was a solid move, but I think they were overpaid. I mean, offensive line has gotten a lot better, but it's not great. I mean, running backs are okay, and Trevor Lawrence is in his second year, but he kind of looks hungry to prove people wrong. So, yeah. And also, the defense has actually gotten a little bit better by bringing in Darius Williams and also adding Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd in the draft. I mean, that was a good move. I feel like those were good moves that Jacksonville made. But you know what? They do have some young talent to build on, and they do have years to come. But I would not be surprised if Jacksonville make it to the playoffs, though. But if Trevor Lawrence, if he can break out, then this team can definitely be a dark horse and be a wild card team. So yeah, but I still feel like this is the year that Jacksonville. I feel like this is not the year Jacksonville is going to make the playoffs, and I don't think they're there yet. I say give them at least one more season to get them back in the playoffs. So yeah, so I have Jacksonville as my number 28th in the draft. All right, number 27. I have the Carolina Panthers. Now, here's why. Now, the Carolina Panthers, I mean, they're probably going to be almost one of the worst teams in the league because here's the thing. You don't have a quarterback, which I don't really know who the quarterback is because I feel like the quarterback position is kind of concerning because I don't know who's going to be. I mean, it's either going to be Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, or it's probably going to be the rookie, Matt Corral, which I don't really think that Sam Darnold is the guy or neither Cam Newton because I think those quarterbacks are the ones who are just holding their team back. So I believe that Matt Corral could be the future, but I don't know. They could bring in Baker Mayfield, or Jimmy G, but I don't really know. But the offensive line has gotten a lot better adding Quavilo, and then you also the wide receiver duo position is still really good with Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrence Marshall, and Christian McCaffrey is still a good player. Defensively, I think you've gotten a lot worse because you got rid of Daquan Jones and Morgan Fox. So outside of Brian Burns may not be any good, but I still think their secondary is it's okay, but not great. And also the coaching, I mean, is the question though. I don't really know if Matt Rule is ready to take this team to the next step, which I think he is holding this team back, and he looks to be on the hot seat. So, yes, I have the Panthers as number 27. All right, number 26, I have the Detroit Lions. Now here's why. Now I feel like the Lions did a did an amazing job in the draft. I feel like they did an amazing job. I feel like they did a lot of improvement. I mean, getting 2 first round picks by getting Jamison Williams, who was a good number one, and then you also have more weapons like DJ Chark, and you still got St. Brown as your number two or number three. So your wide receiving position is very strong. TJ Hawkinson's a good tight end. DeAndre Swift's a good running back. I mean, I feel like the Lions' offense is loaded, and I feel like Jared Goff. I mean, the quarterback could be the question. Like, I don't really know if Jared Goff can really is ready to take this team to the next step. Even if Matthew Stafford was on this team will be flirting with the playoffs. But I don't really know. But I still don't know if Jared Goff is going to be able to take this team to the next step, which I think he'll be okay to succeeding with these weapons that they have. So yeah, so I think the Lions did much improvement, but I still think they're far as away from getting to the playoffs though. I mean, defensively they got a lot better adding Agent Hutchinson's in the first round, which which just makes their defensive line better. And still the offensive line is still good but not great. But I still think the Lions need a lot of improvement on the linebacker position at corner and safety. So yeah, I think the Lions are just I mean, I like what they did, but I still think they're far from being far away from the playoffs. So I have them at my November 2016. All right, number 25, I have the New York Jets. And the reason why I have the Jets at number 25 is I think the Jets are probably nowhere near the top three because I think the Jets did a lot of improvement. I mean, I like what they did throughout the draft. I mean, getting a wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, which I think he could become a number one. I mean, you got Corey Davis still, and you got Elijah Moore and Braxton Berrios. I mean, yeah. So I feel like the wide receiver position is very strong. The running back position is very strong. Getting Hall in the draft behind Michael, and you got Michael Carter as your backup. Offensive line has gotten a little bit better, but I don't think it's great. Defensively, they got a lot better by getting Johnson and getting Gardner at corner. So yeah, so I feel like the Jets defense is very strong. But I feel like that the coaching could be the question though, which I don't really know if Solomon's ready to take this team to to the promised land. But Zach Wilson looks hungry to prove people wrong, which I don't really know if Zach Wilson is ready to take this team to the playoffs. But I think the Jets have a lot are competitive, and I think they can. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make some noise in the season. But I feel like the Jets are could be is proven that they do got some underrated talent. So yeah. But if Zach Wilson, if he can break out, then this team will be a playoff team. So yeah. So I don't think they're ready yet. I say give them at least one more year to get them in the playoffs. Because I feel like that they do have a bright future. So yeah. So I say I I have the Jets as my number 25 team in my power rankings. All right, number 24, I have the New York Giants. Now, the Giants are are just are another team that could have some upside. Now, Daniel Jones is in his fourth year, and he could break out, which I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the offensive line is still pretty good. I mean, the weaponry has gotten is really good. I mean, I like the offensive weapons that they have. And Saquon Barkley, he should be healthy, which he wasn't healthy last year because he was hurt. So I feel like their running game should be very strong. I mean, defensively, they gotten a lot better through the draft by getting Kayvon in the first round. I mean, they could improve at corner, but I feel like that their secondary has gotten a lot worse because they traded James Bradbury away, and you lost Logan Ryan for agency. So I feel like their defense I mean, the secondary has got worse. The linebacker position needs to get better. So, yeah. And probably the coaching has gotten a lot better by getting Dayball, which I think he can develop Daniel Jones and make this Giants offense a lot better. And you also got Don Martindale as your coordinator, which he can really, really challenge good teams. So I think that the Giants are got lots of upside, but I don't think they're there yet. So that's why I got them at my number 24 team in my power rankings. All right, at number 23, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and here's why. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, I feel like that the Steelers are likely going to take a step back this year because they don't. I mean, we don't even know who the. I mean, they did a really good job making it to the playoffs. I mean, and fighting for it, but I feel like this is a year that I don't think the Steelers will make the playoffs because here's the thing. We don't really know who the quarterback's going to be, whether it's Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. I mean, I don't really know what the rookies will look like. And plus, your offensive line, it needs to get better. I mean, it's still one of the weakest ones in the NFL. I mean, the wide receiver position is really good. I mean, with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, and also adding a receiver through the draft. I mean, the running back position is really good, but it needs to get better. I'm saying that you can't really run without no line, but the defense is still strong. But the secondary, I mean, it's still not as good as you think. I mean, it's okay, but not great. But I kind of feel like Mike Tomlin, the coaching, I mean, it's still good, but it's not fantastic. So I just kind of feel like that the Steelers are gonna have a bad season with the first season with Mike Tomlin. I mean, I don't really remember, so I just kind of feel like that the Steelers need to take a step back before they can take a step forward. So this is why I got them at number 23. All right, number 22, I have the Washington Commanders, and here's why. Now, I love what the Commanders did at quarterback. They upgraded at quarterback. I mean, by getting Wentz, but Wentz is kind of streaky, but I'll say that he's kind of average, but he's not fantastic. Like, he's really not an elite guy. But I think Washington is very talented on both sides of the ball. I like what they did throughout the draft, getting a receiver. So I kind of feel like your receiving core is going to be very strong. You got Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dawson, Curtis Samuel, Damani Brown. Yeah, your receiving position is good. I mean, Logan Thomas is still underrated tight end. Running backs are really solid with Gibson and McKissick. Now, offensive line is gotten a lot worse because you lost your offensive lineman. Now, defensively, you're still pretty good in the front seven, but in the secondary, they're kind of weak. So yeah, but you know what? I don't really think that, and the coaching is very solid as well, but not fantastic. So I don't really think that Carson Wentz is going to be the guy to take this team. Like, I don't really think he's ready. I don't think he's a guy to take this team to the playoffs, which I wouldn't be surprised though. They could make it into playoff territory, but I wouldn't be surprised because I don't think Wentz is the guy to do it. So that's why I have Washington at number 22. At number 21, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Reason why I have the Cardinals at number 21 is because I just think the Cardinals are just. I just kind of feel like they're going to take a step back this year because here's the thing, the coaching could be the question. Like, I don't really know if Cliff Kingsbury is that great of a coach, but he did a really good job taking his team to the playoffs last year. But the coaching could be a little bit concerning. But Kyler Murray could be the question, though. I mean, he did a really good job breaking out last season. But you know what? I love the weapon. I love that. Love the move that they did. I loved what they did in the offseason by bringing in Marquise Brown as your number 2 wide receiver. And, DeAndre Hopkins is likely going to be suspended. So, yeah. And you brought in AJ Green and Rondale Moore still solid. So I feel like they have a lot of depth at wide receiver. Zach Ertz is still a good underrated tight end. Now, running back position is okay, even though you lost Chase Edmonds. Now, offensive line is still okay, but not great. Defensively, they got a lot worse because you lost Chandler Jones. But J.J. Watt, outside of J.J. Watt, is nothing special. But the secondary, they need to improve at corner position. Their secondary is not great. So I kind of feel like the Cardinals' defense has gotten a lot worse this year. So, yeah. And I'm not sure they're going to be able to stop anybody. So, yeah. That's why I think the Cardinals are going to be at number 21. But they could make this jump to playoff territory again, but I wouldn't be surprised. But they did a good job last year. But I feel like this is a down year for Arizona. All right, number 22. Number 20, I have the Tennessee Titans. And here's why. Now, I kind of feel like the Titans have gotten a lot worse because here's the thing. They lost 2 good wide receivers in Julio Jones, and you traded A.J. Brown away. But you did a good job replacing one in the draft by getting Treylon Burks. And then you did a good job trading one by getting Robert Woods. And I also love the move that tight end at Austin Hooper. I feel like Derrick Henry, he's getting a little older, but I don't really know if he's still going to be the same player. Now, offensive line is definitely weak. Defensively, they're still strong up front and at the linebacker, but the secondary, is okay, but not fantastic. They can improve at corner. So, yeah. But the quarterback position, Mike Vrabel, he's still a solid coach, but I don't know if he's going to take this team to the playoffs again like he did last year. But I know he did a good job last year because they were the number 1 seed. Now, the quarterback position could be concerning because I don't really know who's going to be the quarterback. Rather, it's going to be Ryan Tannehill or Malik Willis, which I don't think Ryan Tannehill is going to be the guy for the future. I think Malik Willis is. So I say you can give Tannehill at least 1 more year. So, yeah, but I feel like Tannehill is okay, but he's not great. Like, he's not really an elite guy. Like, he's really not a top 10 guy, which, yeah. So I just kind of feel like that they did have a bad offseason this year. But they did a good job retaining some of their players on defense. So, yeah. But I just kind of feel like Tennessee needs to take a step back before they can take a step forward. So that's why I have the Titans at number 20. All right, number 19, I have the Patriots. Now, the Patriots, with Mac Jones, he's in his second year. But I feel like that the Patriots got a little bit worse this offseason. They lost some pieces on defense. You got rid of Calvin Noy. You got rid of J.C. Jackson. So I feel like the secondary has gotten a little bit worse, but I think you did good replacing the corner throughout the draft. Now, I feel like the defense will still be really good, but not fantastic. Offensive line is still good. So that's fun to say. Now, the wide receiver position, the receiving core is really good, but they just don't have a true number 1 wide receiver for Mac Jones. But if they could get a true number 1 for Mac Jones, then I think they could jump. But I just kind of feel like that the Patriots need to at least take a step back before they can take a step forward. But now, they could make this jump into playoff territory, but I would be shocked if they did. But they did a good job making the playoffs last year. And also, they still got Bill Belichick, who's one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL. But they lost their offensive coordinator in McDaniels. So I feel like they need a little bit of learning curve because you got a new offensive coordinator. So yeah. So I just kind of feel like the Patriots. I mean, I don't think they're gonna be a bad team, but I think they could be looking outside and making the playoffs. So yeah, so that's why I have the Patriots at 19. At number 18, I have the Miami Dolphins. Now, the reason why I have the Dolphins at 18 is because I just think the Dolphins, I mean, I feel like they did a lot of improvement. I mean, I like what they did through the offseason by getting Raheem Morris and Chase Edmonds at their running backs. I mean, I like what they did through the trade by getting Tyreek Hill as a good number one. And also getting Cedric Wilson as a good number three. I feel like that does upgrade the skill position. And I feel like that this is a time where I think Tua can break out, but I wouldn't be surprised though, because they could. And also, they got a new coach in Mike McDaniel, which I think he can develop Tua. But the Dolphins can really make this jump into playoff territory. But I wouldn't be surprised though, because yeah, and also the offensive line has gotten a lot better this year by getting Teron Armstead at left tackle and by getting another offensive lineman throughout free agency. So yeah, but the defense, it's still really good, but not great. I feel like they could use a little more size on the field through their edge rush and through that corner and through linebacker. So yeah, so as long as the defense plays at the same level, then I think the Dolphins can definitely be a good team. But I just don't think the Dolphins. I wouldn't put the Dolphins higher yet. So that's why I have the Dolphins at number 18. But I feel like Tua is a guy to break out. But I just don't think the Dolphins are the team. I don't really know. Like, I just don't think the Dolphins. I wouldn't put them any higher yet, so that's why I put them at 18. Number 17, I have the New Orleans Saints. Now, the reason why I have the Saints at 17 is because I just think the Saints. I mean, I like what they did in the offseason. Like I like what they did. I mean, by getting Jarvis Landry as a good number two wide receiver through free agency, and also getting one in the draft by getting Chris Olave as a number three. And I feel like Michael Thomas should be healthy. So he should be healthy because he was all hurt last year. I mean, offensive line has gotten a lot worse by losing Teron Armstead, but you did replace one throughout the draft. I mean, Ryan Ramczyk is still there. I mean, Alvin Kamara is really good. He's a stud. I mean, defensively, they're still really good. Also, like what they did through free agency by getting Marcus May, Daniel Sorensen, and also getting Tyrann Mathieu. So I feel like that the Saints defense has gotten a lot better. Now I kind of feel like Jameis Winston. Now I just kind of feel like Jameis Winston. I wouldn't could be the guy, which I don't really know, but he's still an average quarterback. Like he's okay, but he's not great. But I wouldn't be surprised if he break out this season. But I feel like the weapons that the Saints have can help Jameis Winston succeed. But I feel like the coaching could be the question. Like I don't really know if Dennis Allen can make can get this team to the playoffs. But we understand they lost Sean Payton, but I just don't really think the Saints which I don't really know if they're gonna be the same without Dennis Allen. So they could take a little step back, but I think they're gonna take a step forward because of the improvement that they did. So yeah. So I really think that the Saints are just. But I don't think they're far from being a playoff team. But I think they can be looking outside in, which I don't really know they're going to be able to make the playoffs with Jameis Winston. Like maybe if they had like a franchise quarterback, okay, yeah, they'll be in the playoffs. But I think they're just going to be a little bit like an average team with Jameis Winston. So I say the Saints. So I say the Saints put the Saints at 17. But I wouldn't be shocked if they make it to the playoffs though. All right, number 16, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the reason why I have the Vikings at 16 is because I just think the Vikings are definitely lead the most underrated team in the NFL. Now, the reason why they're underrated is because their offense is very strong. I mean, under Kevin O'Connell, I think he's bringing the Ram scheme. I think he's going to make this Vikings offense a lot better. I mean, offensive line has gotten it's still okay, but not great. But the defense, but I feel like with the weaponry that the Vikings had with Thielen and Jefferson is very strong. And Cook, I mean, at running back, I mean, Kirk Cousins, I mean, with the Vikings, with his fourth season with the Vikings, I feel like Kirk Cousins is still a good quarterback. And I feel like he can make this team to the playoffs. But he kind of hold his team back last year, but I feel like it was just a defense ball. But the defense is still great, but I like what they did by getting Zadarius Smith and getting Cook through the draft and getting drafting a defensive player in the mid rounds. I mean, yeah, so I feel like the defense is really strong, and also by resigning Patrick Peterson, I mean that was a good move. So I feel like that the Vikings are just. So I don't think the Vikings are far away from being a playoff team because I feel like they did a lot of improvement this offseason. So yeah, I feel like the Vikings. I feel like the Vikings are the team to make the playoffs this year, and they should be able to do it. I mean, if long as the defense can play at a high level like it should be, then they will be a playoff team, and this team can be very dangerous. So I say the Vikings. So I put the Vikings at 16. Number 15, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the reason why I have the Cowboys at 15 is because I just feel like the Cowboys have definitely gotten a little worse. Like there's some areas that they really lost. You traded Amari Cooper away and also replaced a wide receiver throughout the draft. Now, offensive line is still great, but not special because you lost some pieces on the offensive line. Now, defensively, I think you got a lot worse because you lost Randy Gregory, who was their really good pass rusher to them. And then the secondary, it's okay. I mean, Diggs had a really good season last year. I mean, they could improve by adding another corner. But you know what? I just kind of feel like the Cowboys defense have. I feel like they did got a lot worse this offseason because I feel like they're the most overrated team. And I kind of feel like Zeke Elliott, he could be a little overrated. Prescott could be a little overrated. The coaching is kind of concerning, which is okay but not special. But I think the Cowboys did a good job bringing back Dan Quinn and Kellen Mond, which that's a huge plus. So yeah. So I feel like the Cowboys are losing a little talent though, but I don't really think Dallas is going to be a bad team. But I feel like they could be an average team and could be looking outside and making the playoffs though. But I would not be surprised if they did. So I got the Cowboys at 15. All right, all right. The next team I have at number 14 is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the reason why I have the Eagles at number 14 is because I think the Eagles did a lot of improvement. Like I like what the Eagles did throughout free agency, which I like what they did by trading for a wide receiver in AJ Brown, who's a really good number one, with Devontae Smith being a good number two. I think they did upgrade at wide receiver. Now the running back is really good. Dallas Goedert still underrated tight end. Now the offensive line should be really good. Now I think the defense has gotten a lot better by getting Jacoby Dean and Jordan Davis throughout the draft. I mean, I feel like their defensive line should be very strong. So, and also I like what they did throughout the secondary by bringing in another corner in James Bradbury. But I kind of feel like this is the year the Eagles could be a playoff team. But I would not be surprised if they won a division. Which, because of Jalen Hurts, if he can break out, then I think this team can definitely be dangerous. So yeah, I have the Eagles at 14. Right, next team that we at number 14 is the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason why I have the Eagles at 14 is because the Eagles, is probably going to be another good team. And also they have Jalen Hurts going in his third year as a starter. No, his third year in the league, but this is his second year starting. But the Eagles, I like what they did in the offseason by trading A.J. Brown. Adding another receiver. I mean, offensive line should be better. Defensively, they're really good. In the secondary, adding James Bradbury. They're really good up front, drafting Jacoby Dean and Jordan Davis. I feel like the Eagles did a really good job dominating the offseason. So I feel like this team could definitely be a playoff team next year. Because they were close to doing it. At number 13, I have the Cleveland Browns. And the reason why I have the Cleveland Browns at 13 is because the Browns are just, I feel like they could be really a top team in the NFL. It just depends on how many games that Watson's going to be suspended. I mean, I like what they did offseason, trading for a quarterback. And I believe they traded in Amari Cooper was a good move, but they still don't have that number 2 wide receiver. I mean, the tight ends are really good. The running backs are really good. Offensive line is very, very good. I mean, defensively, they're really good, but I don't even know. But I think they need a scheme change, but they need to use more size on defense, like more in the secondary. So, yeah, that's why I have the Browns. So, I feel like this Browns can definitely win the Super Bowl this year, but I don't really know if Watson is enough for a Super Bowl yet. And you got Kevin Stefanski, who is a good coordinator, offensive coach, which he's bringing in the offensive scheme. So, yeah, that's why I have the Browns at number 13. At number 12, I have the Indianapolis Colts. And the reason why I have the Colts at number 12 is because I think the Colts, I mean, I like what they did at quarterback. They upgraded at quarterback by getting Matt Ryan. I mean, the receiving core, I mean, it's not fantastic. I mean, I like what they did in the draft by getting Alex Pierce. Michael Pittman is still a stud at wide receiver. Tight end position is okay. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. I mean, offensive line should be good, but I don't know if it's going to be any better. But defensively, they should be a lot better, like in the secondary, by getting Gilmore, upgrading the corner position, and also training Yannick Ngakoue. I think it makes their defense a lot better. So yeah, you still got Frank Wright, who's a good offensive coach. So yeah, so I believe the Colts have really did a lot of improvement. I believe they did a lot of improvement this offseason by upgrading at quarterback, upgrading the defense. I think I love the moves they did. So I believe this team could definitely be a playoff team this year. All right, number 11, I have the San Francisco 49ers. And the reason why I have the 49ers at number 11 is because the Niners, they have a lot of questions though, because we don't really know if Jimmy G is gonna be there, and we don't really know if Debo is gonna be there. I mean, even if Debo gets traded, I mean, this team could definitely take a step back, which that could be a huge blow to their passing game. Which you still got George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk as studs. Elijah Mitchell had a good rookie season. We expect him to improve again. Offensive line should be better. It's pretty good. But defensively, they're really good up front and the secondary. And they're well coached too. I mean, Shanahan's a great offensive coach, which he's like one of the best offensive coaches in the game. D'Amico Ryans is a great stud. I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator, which they brought him back. Which I think this team it does bring a toughness to a football team. But Trey Lance could be the question. Like, how good could he be? Like, could he at least have a breakout season? Who knows? Which I would not be surprised. Like he's really not ready though. So that's why that's why he kind of struggled. So I believe the Niners are going to be up there for sure, and they would be a playoff team. The next team we got is the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason why we have the Baltimore Ravens at number 10 is because the Ravens, I mean, they're a well-coached team. I mean, John Harbaugh's still a great coach. I mean, you got Lamar Jackson, who is a stud at quarterback. I mean, I mean, I can kind of feel the Ravens might take a little step back this year because the wide receiver position got a lot worse because you traded Marquise Brown away. You still got Bateman and Mark Andrews, but they can improve at another wide receiver. Running backs, I mean, they should be are okay, but they didn't play all last season due to injuries. Defensively, they should be really good. Because defensively, they're really good. Like, I don't really know they're really good up front, but the secondary is really good by drafting Hamilton and getting Marcus Williams in free agency. But their corner position should be good though. I mean, the secondary was kind of bad due to injury, so I think that the Ravens, I believe this team should be a playoff. They should be back in the playoffs this year with a healthy Lamar Jackson and with a healthy defense and offense. So they should be back. All right, number 9, I have the Denver Broncos. And the reason why I have the Denver Broncos at number 9 is because they were aggressive getting a quarterback, getting Russell Wilson. And also, they might have to do with some learning curves because they have a new coach in Hackett. But the receiver position is really good, with the receiving core is stacked. And then, running game is still booty. I mean, offensive line, I mean, it's okay, but nothing special. Defensively, they got a lot better getting Gregory and DJ Jones. I mean, they could use a little more size on there. I mean, secondary is totally good. So, yeah. So, I believe this team could definitely win the Super Bowl this year, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I don't really know the Broncos if I can trust Denver to go to the Super Bowl. Like, I just think their offense just bugs me a little bit. So, but I just put them in the top 10 because I just feel like Russell Wilson is still he's still a top 10 quarterback. But yeah, so that's why I just put the Broncos at number 9. Number 8, I got the Las Vegas Raiders, and the reason why the Raiders are number 8 is because the Raiders went aggressive this offseason. They traded for Devontae Adams. They upgraded number 1 wide receiver. I feel like that the trio of Adams, Renfro, and Waller is going to be the best trio. I mean, Josh Jacobs is still a stud at running back. You still got Derek Carr, who's a great quarterback, which this guy could definitely be a breakout candidate, which I wouldn't be surprised. Offensive line is okay, but it's really good. Defensively, they're really good up front by getting Chandler Jones. The secondary needs a lot of work. So, yeah. So, And also, you got Josh McDaniels as a new coach, which he's bringing the Patriot scheme. So I think the Raiders should be back in the playoffs. Which I think the Raiders should be. They should be making the playoffs this year, but I wouldn't be shocked if they missed it out. But they did a really good job making the playoffs this year. So they should be able to make the playoffs this year. Like, if Derek Carr could be a breakout candidate, then this team could be very dangerous. So yeah, that's why I have the number. That's why I have the Raiders at number 8. Number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers, and the reason why I have the Packers at number 7 is because you got Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, but I believe that your receiving core is lacking a little bit because you traded Devontae Adams away, and you also replaced it with a rookie by getting Watson in the second round. Also, love the addition of Sammy Watkins as a number 2. And re-signing Tanyan was a great move. And also, they lost their second best player. So, yeah, you still got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon as studs. Offensive line is really good. So, it's very strong. I mean, defensively, they're good. They're not great. But they also drafted a linebacker in the first round. I mean, secondary is very good. So, yeah. I mean, this team could definitely win the Super Bowl without Aaron Rodgers, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't really think Green Bay can win the Super Bowl because Green Bay is just always that team where where they don't want to win and all that. At least Aaron Rodgers in a weak NFC. I believe the Packers should be able to be back in the playoffs. All right, next team, number 6, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and the reason why we have the Bengals on number 6 is because the Bengals, they're a really good team though, which they got some young talent though. I mean, you got Joe Burrow, who's like a top 10 quarterback. I mean, the receiving core is stacked. I mean, Jamar Chase is a stud. I mean, coming off a rookie season, breaking every record. You got T. Higgins and you got Tyler Boyd. I mean, Joe Mixon is really good. I mean, offensive line has gotten a lot better by getting Collins and the other guys. I mean, they definitely made a Super Bowl without an offensive line, but I believe their offensive line improved. Now, defensively, they're really good up front and even in the secondary. So, yeah. So, I believe Cincinnati, they're going to be up there for sure. But I just don't really know if Joe Burrow is enough to win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, that's why I have the Bengals at number 6. At number 5, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the reason why I have the Chiefs at number 5 is because I believe the Chiefs have did a lot of improvement this offseason. I mean, losing Tyreek Hill was a big loss, but you did place him throughout the draft by getting a rookie in Sky Moore. And also you added some receivers in the offseason, getting Juju and Valdez Scanley. So their receiving core should be really good. And Miko Hardman, he's still a stud. Travis Kelce, he's getting older, but that's something to watch, which he's still really good. I mean, they can improve at running back. Defensively, I think they got a lot better by getting Kalafdis and getting Trent McDuffie and also getting Cook. So yeah, at least you replace them with the Honey Badger. But it could be the question, like the Chiefs. I mean, they brought back their whole coaching staff, bringing back Eric Bieniemy, so that's a huge plus. And Andy Reid is still a really good offensive coach. Patrick Mahomes is still really good, but I think the Chiefs, as long as Patrick Mahomes can stay at the same level, then I think the Chiefs could definitely make the playoffs. But I think they gotta. But I think their offensive line, I mean, is really good. I think they gotta start doing a good job protecting Mahomes. Like last offseason, they almost missed the playoffs because of the struggles on both sides of the ball. But I believe the Chiefs. I mean, if they win the Super Bowl, I would not be shocked. So yeah. So I think the Chiefs. I mean, can they win the Super Bowl? Yes, but I don't know if it's good enough to win the Super Bowl. So yeah, that's why I still think the Chiefs are a top 5 team. So yeah, that's why I have the Chiefs at number 5. All right, next team we got is the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Chargers are a really good, talented team. I mean, you still got Brandon Stanley as his second year as a head coach. And also, you got Justin Herbert, who's one of the best quarterbacks who I've ever seen in the NFL. And plus, I like what the Chargers did this offseason. I like what they did. They traded for Khalil Mack and added a number 1 corner in J.C. Jackson. I feel like Brandon Stanley is scheming things up defensively and also added Austin Sebastian. So I feel like they're scheming things up defensively. Offensive line is really strong, so they should be really good. So I believe this team should be back in the playoffs this year, and they should be favored to win the AFC West. And also they could definitely make it to the AFC Championship game. Like I wouldn't be shocked. Like this team could definitely win the Super Bowl this year, but I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, I got the Chargers at number 4. Number 3, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, reason why I have the Buccaneers at number 3 is because I just think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, I just really think Tampa Bay is a really good, talented team. I mean, you got Tom Brady. Yeah, also, the reason why I put them at 3 because, Tom Brady came out of retirement. I mean, they did a lot of stuff in the offseason. I mean, I like what they did, on defense, getting Akeem Hicks. And plus, they could look to resign other defensive players. But the offense is very strong. I mean, Byron Leftwich stayed. I mean, Todd Bowles entering as the head coach now with Bruce Arians quitting. I mean, you still got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as really good receivers. And who knows if Gronk is going to come back. Even if Gronk comes back, then this offense will be really good. I also like the improvement getting Russell Gage. But the defense is strong, and they're really good in the secondary and good up front. So they should be really good up there. But the coaching could be the question, though. Like, how could Todd Bowles coach up the defense? That's what's the question. Like, this team could definitely make it to the Super Bowl this year, but I wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah, that's why I have the Bucks at number 3. Number 2, I have the LA Rams. And the reason why I have the Rams on number 2 is because I just think the Rams, I mean, they're really good. They're another fascinating team. I mean, I love what the Rams did this offseason. I mean, they brought in they lost Vaughn Miller in free agency and you replace him with Bobby Wagner. But the defense is still really good. And they brought back Troy Hill as the number 2 corner, so their secondary should be okay. But offensive line, I mean, it's gotten a little worse because of Andrew Whitworth retiring. But the offense is still very strong. I mean, Matthew Stafford is a top 10 quarterback. I mean, Cooper Kupp's an elite player. I mean, I like what they did by getting Allen Robinson. And who knows if OBJ going to come back. Like, he might come back or he might not come back. Even if he does, then the receiving core will be stacked. I mean, Van Jefferson is excellent. Tyler Higbee's a stud. Cam Akers is good. The running backs are really good. So, yeah, and you got Sean McVay, who's one of the best coaches in the NFL. So, yeah. But even if Aaron Donald could be the question. The Rams defense could definitely be the question. Like, who knows if Aaron Donald's going to keep playing? Like, even if he retires, then his defense will probably be a lot worse. So, yeah. So that's why I think the Rams, I mean, even if he does play, then the Rams defense will be elite. So yeah, that's why I have the Rams at number 2. Like they could definitely win a Super Bowl again, but I don't really know if they can run it back. But they do have a good chance of competing. All right, and number 1 I have is the Buffalo Bills. Now the reason why I have the Bills at number 1 is because I just believe the Bills are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, I like what you did in your offseason. You added Von Miller, in free agency. You brought back Shaq Lawson. You brought in Jordan Phillips. So they got a lot of depth on the defense. Now the secondary, I mean, it's really good. I mean, I like what they did in the draft by getting another corner, right beside of Tre'Davious White. Now offensive line is okay, and the weapon read of Buffalo, I mean, it's very strong. I mean, you got Diggs, who is a stud. Davis, which he's going to be a stud. You brought in Jameson Crowder. Emmanuel Sanders could be the question. I don't know. Isaiah McKenzie is good. I mean, you got O.J. Howard as your number 2 tight end. Knox is okay. So, yeah. So, they got a lot of depth at wide receiver and a lot of depth on offense. But I think your running game will get better by getting one in the draft, by getting James Cook. So, yeah. So I think the Bills are going to be the best team in the NFL, and I believe this could definitely be the Super Bowl team. Well, all right, guys, that's all my NFL power rankings for 2022. I hope you guys enjoy this video. And also, if you disagree with me, just let me know in the comments section below what you guys think. Would you think I'm right or you think I'm wrong? Just let me know. It's Emmanuel Jones from The Big Fan. I'll see you guys later. Peace.